Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Get the Flick Out of Here. Episode number 20. This is the last time we get to do this without showing feet. And Jimmy Van does not pay us enough to show feet.
No.
So sorry, everybody. We're going to have to start over again at 1. But also, I'm going to use this to tell you to get the flick out of here. I'm Alex Pawlowski. With me, as always, is Kate Elizabeth. And this is our movies deal where we talk about good, not really good. I mean, usually if it's good, it's by accident. Bad,
Stumbles into itself.
Weird, wacky, and perhaps, which is, of course, the past tense of perhaps is perhaps. and perhaps something else should be added to the standard list of adjectives that describe the movies that we talk about on here. Perhaps it should be unjustly fondly remembered. Maybe that should be a thing that we talk about more often, because I'll tell you what, I think the controversy surrounding this particular pick and our responses to it may make this the runaway hit of this series. I think we may see a lot of reaction, a lot of views on this, just because people are angry with us, but it does not make us wrong. This was something that you brought up to me, Kate, and I flatly refused to watch the film.
But with good reason.
But with good reason.
You've seen it a lot.
This is, as I described to you, this may be, in terms of how much I dislike the movie to how many times I have seen it, this may be like the ultimate ratio. The number has to be in the mid to high teens of the number of times I have been. Like the first time I was like, oh, I'm excited to watch this. Everybody loves this movie. It's times 2 through 17 have been forced upon me. And I said to myself, no more, never again will I watch this movie. But this was all you're doing. So now you are in charge of taking us through this. And I will dredge up very painful memories of having watched this movie a decade ago. So that I can talk about it as well. But would you like to tell the fine folks what it is that we are talking about today?
We're going to talk about the movie Grace.
Yeah, we are.
And I thought this would be really fun to do because I hate this movie. I think it's so bad. But it's revered as a classic. And I was like, there's no way Alex likes this movie. Like, there's just no possible way. And also, the last time I saw it, it was hilarious for all the wrong reasons. Largely because they cast a bunch of people who look older than they are to look younger than they are. Like, you pick up on all these things. I don't understand why it's considered a classic. It is terrible. It does have a lot of, like, I don't even want to say star-studded cast, but like, a lot of very recognizable names. But the movie Grease is stupid, and the musical Grease is stupid. And I have to also ask you, were you ever in it?
No, I was not in it. There was at our high school, we were actually in the second year of it, maybe even the first year of it. There was something called, because we were the Elmira Falcons, so there was something called the Mr. Falcon pageant for the senior boys. I think I was in the second year of it. And so it was voted on by all the senior girls of who were the top 10 guys in the class to be in this Mr. Falcon pageant. And it was like you would go, like, honestly, it was for a really good cause, because it was also like how much money you could personally raise for charity for like the children's hospital. and that was awesome, an awesome cause. But we also got to go and like do a fashion show. Like we got to pick out our outfits for like the casual and formal wear and all this kind of stuff. And
so you made the cut. You were in the top 10.
Oh, yeah, I was in the top 10. Oh, I was in the top 5. Come on. But this is the thing. Is that I sounded like MJF there for a second. But listen, this whole thing was the senior girls, of a bunch of them, got to pick the musical number that all the guys would do, and they picked Grease. They picked the medley from Grease. They picked Tell Me More, and whatever that one's called, Summer Lovin', going directly into Grease Lightning. And there were quick changes. Half of us had to be pink ladies, but not this guy. This guy was Danny Zuko.
Yeah,
himself.
you were. That's my host.
This was 175 pounds ago and a full head of hair ago. Majestic, flowing, wonderful, like quarter Latino locks that hung down in perfect coifs around my forehead. There was no one more Danny Zuko than me ever. They found this awesome leather jacket that I got to wear. So we lip synced the whole thing. So we did that. And the funny thing, of course, was that they picked a guy who in high school was my size now to be Sandy, and and they put the wig on him, everything, and so that was a lot of fun. But then we did a quick change, and there was like a car that they drove out onto the stage, and we all were wearing like jumpsuits and doing like, Grease Lightning, go Grease Lightning. So while I wasn't actually in the musical, I did play Danny Zuko in the Mr. Falcon pageant in 1997. So yes, that was like maybe the second or third time that I had doing the research to play the role. Was the second or third time I had watched the film. I think the first time I was probably 13 or 14, and the theater kids that I ran with loved it. So they were like, we all watch. You haven't seen Grease? You gotta see Grease. And I was like, all right. Well, everybody else seems to love it. I guess it's all right. But man, all right. And the second time I was like, I must be wrong about all of this. And then watching it the third time to do the research for the Mr. Falcon pageant, I was like, this kind of blows. I mean, I'll have fun with playing the part, but this kind of blows. And all the other times that I was forced to watch it by a group of friends or a girl I was trying to get on the make with, was always like just gritting my teeth to get through it. So no, I know all about the Danny Zooks. I know about him. I know all about it. I know, Summer Lovin' had me a blast. I know all that about all that stuff. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but I know what it is.
It's really bad. Like watching it back for this, there's so many things in it that are wrong. And I think before we even dive into it, the first things off the top is Jan, who they fat shame throughout the movie, is not even close. Not even close to being somebody that's considered overweight. Mm-hmm. And the casting for this, what is Tucker Channing doing trying to pass herself off as a high schooler?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the gag I was going to use. Fun fact: during the filming of this, Tucker Channing was 53 years old. She's I don't know how old she was, but however old she was added on to by the fact that she obviously smoked 3 packs a day.
Yes.
Like just from the voice, from everything. It was just like, oh well, yeah, no, let's not do that. So it was like the whole thing of like, we'll talk more about it. Oh no, Rizzo might be pregnant. But it's really, this is the thing. I understand why she's worried, because after age 35, it becomes really difficult.
It's true
to carry to term. You know what I mean?
It's true.
So yeah, she's
pregnancy.
right.
So.
Exactly. It's terrible.
And it doesn't stop there. The T-Birds both look like Italian uncles. So, but we start. It's summer of 1958. Rizzo and Sandy, an Australian girl on vacation. They met at the beach. They are very attracted to each other.
Of course.
But summer ends as it does, and you have to go back to your respective countries. But Sandy's doesn't. They just decide to stay in America, and headed back to school with the grooviest 70s intro that there ever was, because grease is in fact the word.
Grease is the word. This is the best song on the soundtrack, because it is in fact done by Frankie Valli, who knows a thing or two about writing hit songs. So Grease may not be the word, but it is a bop. It is a certified bop.
It is a bop. They, of course, kind of recount the story. We have Danny and the T-Birds, a group of friends, and the Pink Ladies, the Greaser Girls, kind of led by Rizzo, rounded out by Frenchy and Jan and Marty, who Marty probably doesn't get enough love in this movie, just overall. They get recounted the same story in very different angles. I would say Danny makes it sound like a much more sexual encounter, whereas Sandy recalls it in a romantic way.
Yeah, full-on sex romp. Yeah. Yes, this is so good. Wait, so this is right. This is Sandy's first day of school, and they at this new high school.
Frenchy has kind of taken Sandy under her wing, recognizing that she is new.
Right.
And they have no idea each other is at the same high school. Like,
right. So just she doesn't tell them that it's Danny Zuko that she had the torrid love affair with, or does she?
She does after the song.
Right. No, but during the song, they just think it's some random dude, and they wanted to dish about this person they don't know.
Right. In the style of a musical number. Right.
Well, obviously that's a musical. That's why. And honestly, this movie had 2.5 strikes against it from the get-go, and all of them were because it's a musical. I fucking hate musicals. I hate them so much. You know my crazy analytical mind, I cannot get past. So we all know the lyrics to the song here, and we're all going to do a choreographed dance. Like my brain will never shut off about that. Ever since I was a kid, I was like, so how do the chimney sweeps all know to step in time? Like I kept asking my parents about it. I don't understand how they all know how to do the dance. A lone musical number by yourself, you're just a crazy person singing in the rain. But when everybody gets together, I think it's like mass hysteria, and somebody should be called. Let's notify the police. This is some kind of weird flash mob thing. It may be a zombie virus that causes everybody to lose their minds. But Danny, I love there's like, so what'd you do on vacation, Danny? I don't know why. Like most of them are from New York, but they're all going to school in LA. Was there like an exchange program, and they all decided to stay? Because what are the names of the guys? It's Sonny, right? Is Sonny one of them?
Oh my god, I don't even know if I have them written down. I just wrote the
there's the one in the song who goes,
Kaneki.
Tell me more. Can she get me a friend? Like, does she have a sister I could possibly knock up? It is very bad, but I do love how, like, hey, so tell us all about it. I'll tell you all about it. We were getting busy down in the sand, like it is.
They made out under the dock.
Under the dock.
Marty, Kaneki is the only one that I have written down in my notes.
Oh well, Kaneki, obviously Kaneki's Kaneki, but I don't remember the name of the other. There's the other two because there's 4 of each.
There is. I think
so
Sunny
Sunny,
is
Sunny, and whatever. Yeah, just the idea of the very simple, effective to certain people, and also maddening to me juxtaposition of like she's innocent, he's not.
Of course.
Lyrics of like we made out under the dock. We stayed out till 10 o'clock. Oh, my parents were scandalized. It's so lazy and so simple and so facile, and everybody loves it, and I don't get why. I'm sorry. This is where we're gonna start getting our hate mail.
It's so bad. Like, and just even the way like the dudes are at least in the bleachers, and it pretty much takes there, but like they are singing and moving through the campus at certain points of this. Like, it's terrible.
You have to turn off all of that bullshit about it being a musical, otherwise you'll never ever get through it.
You never make
it. And the fact is that I'm an adult now, married with a child, and I don't have to do anything I don't want to do anymore.
There it is.
So that is me never watching Grease or likely any other musical at any point.
I have the only musical movie that I saw that I actually really liked was Chicago. Like, I actually thought that was super, super well done.
It's also incredibly stylized.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, it's like not
it is done in a way that lets you know this is a fake thing that we are doing, as opposed to we're going to set this on a real high school campus. Everyone's going to walk around like they're in the real world, and then all of a sudden they're going to break into song. Hate that. If you're going to do a musical, make it like crazy lights and weird cameras and people popping in out of the scenery. Like it's got to be something crazy to make it seem like it's not like we're in a parallel dimension where this kind of shit could happen, as opposed to whatever the hell this is.
And even just with musicals in general, the only reason I'll appreciate a good like cheesy musical from time to time, but it's usually because I've gotten to see them live. A musical movie, like I've lived near New York my whole life, so I've gotten to go to Broadway shows, and like the experience of being in the theater and it being live in front of you. Movies, it's like, let's take medium that barely works and apply it to here. But so we make it through this trite musical number, and Sandy tells Frenchy the name of her summer love, and Rizzo chokes on her soda. And it's so, she's just such a bad person, Rizzo. She arranges a surprise like reunion for them. And Sandy is so excited when they realize that they're on the same campus, and Danny has like an initial, John Travolta actually does pretty well with this, I think, of like he's really excited to see her, but then he kind of remembers like, oh, but I'm Mr. Cool Guy. Like, I can't be excited to see you. Like, it's no big deal, kind of nonchalance. His transitioning of that, I thought, was actually pretty good. But it's a stupid reaction, well executed. And so then, of course, Sandy is upset. And she kind of moves on to dating this really dumb jock named Tom, who's a track runner. And Danny's cool with it in the beginning because, he's got things on his mind like car racing.
Which is a thing you did in the 1950s. So we talked about this briefly, but there was a certain if you were the right age to have been a youth in the time that this was set. So that means you were in your 30s or 40s, even younger than that, when this came out. It's such a wonderful hit of nostalgia. Like, everybody was like this. And I need to see newsreels, because I feel like the amount of actual greasers and actual poodle skirt pink ladies in actual American high schools was a smaller quotient than what we get in movies depicting such, like American Graffiti or Happy Days or Back to the Future or all of this shit. Like, it's just like this this is what it was. And I feel like no, like anytime, like if you were going to set a movie during my high school years, like everybody would be into grunge, and that just wasn't the case. There were some of us who were, and then there were a bunch of people who weren't. But if you just said, okay, this is a movie about high schoolers in the mid 90s, you would just let's do it just shorthand. Everybody's into grunge, and that's just not how it was. And so, like, the fact that they did, everybody was either a T-Bird or a Pink Lady or a square.
Yeah, or a nerd.
Yeah, I feel like that's not actually how it was, but that's how they chose to depict it in this film.
Nope, everyone's into car racing. You're totally wrong. And here we get Kaneki unveiling his car, Grease Lightning, and he's going to restore it in their car maintenance class, which I think is cool, is led by a gal. That's a pretty fun thing.
Yeah.
But he plans on racing that car, and we get the Grease Lightning musical number. Because
the chicks are going to cream.
Oh, of course.
Lightning. Yeah, chicks will cream for Grease Lightning. They're going to cream just all over the place.
For your restored in shop class.
Yeah. Go Grease Lightning, Grease Lightning, go Grease Lightning. Yeah, it is the most again, just simple, and it's catchy, but it's just it's bullshit. The whole thing is
trite.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Have you ever seen a car and just screamed, Alex?
Oh yeah.
They all
I cream all the time. Like I just walking down the street and a car passes me. That is a Hyundai Sonata. Like that's it, and it's over. You know,
Alex, I had a Z3 convertible 2-seater, red interior on black, and the amount of men I just embarrassed by driving it. You're just driving it down the road, just driving it past some people, and all of a sudden, like, I gotta go home and change my underwear. Like that's it. That's it. And it was here too that I feel like the age of the T-Birds really stands out, because they look like they should be leading a shop class in a garage,
right?
Not taking one.
No. These are all these guys look like they are the most senior mechanic at Jiffy Lube. Like they've been there since the Clinton administration. Like that's what they look like. Like they got the job right out of high school, but they're still about 37, 38 years old and still working at Jiffy Lube. My
God. But they gotta get them on shop to race people.
Right.
So we move on to Sandy being invited to a slumber party at Frenchy's house with the other Pink Ladies. And in a scene that, again, I feel like people look at fondly, she's peer pressured into smoking a cigarette and drinking.
Yes.
They curl her hair. They kind of pierce her ears, even though she doesn't want to. And she's in the bathroom, and she comes out, and Rizzo is making fun of her in the "Look at Me, I'm Sandra D" musical number. And I'm like, these people are awful.
They're not friends of yours.
These are friends of hers. And they're just flat out rude. And we see Rizzo leave the party to meet up with Kaneki, who basically announces that he doesn't have a condom.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep.
So just like extremely telegraphed. But the T-Birds' rival gang leader, Leo, and his girlfriend Cha-Cha, who we will see later, they are the rival gang, the Scorpions, and they back into the car. I love that just recapping it made you giggle like an idiot.
I forgot, like, because you were like Leo and Cha-Cha, and I was like, I remember this fucking shit. What was their dumb name? I was thinking to myself, what was their dumb name they came up with for the gang? And you were like, the Scorpions. I was like, yeah, that's right. The Scorpions. because they got to be vaguely evil. Because T-Bird sounds majestic and noble, but scorpions, they'll sting you with their poison, and they're black and they got claws and they're evil. I don't remember Leo, but he was dating a Latin girl, so he's bad. He's bad, and then they're all bad. They're terrible. It was such because also like this coming out set in the same time period, but being written decades, or at least a decade later than West Side Story. Just the whole shorthand of the other gang is probably Latin and therefore not to be trusted. Like it's just so obvious the way that like here's the deal, like there's just a way to be like, okay, so the dumbest people in our audience in 1 second can get what this signifies. And I really wish there was more nuance, and like there's no room for that. We gotta save all the time for nuance. We gotta devote that to musical numbers.
Of course.
About cars and chicks screaming, four-side cars.
Yes.
But that's so this is just the way it was. This is the way it was.
Appropriately though, also led by someone who looks like they're 45 years old.
Oh, well, of course.
Did casting even try a little bit? Here's
the other thing. Like there's some stuff though that you will see somebody from this time period who's an actor, and be like, oh my God, this person's cast. Their age is all wrong. But go back and look at how old they were when they made the movie, and you'd be like, what crazy, like there's oh God, I can't remember the name of the actor or even the character he played, but there was some guy who was on Sanford and Son. Grady, I think his name was, but somebody like did this thing of like, here's a picture of him in the third season. He was 38 years old, and that man looks 70. Like it was just like, I don't know what the hell, like he was smoking or drinking or what. But in this time period, and honestly, somebody said this, like, just being around leaded gasoline fucked everybody up. Like they aged wrong. Their insides were all screwed up. They couldn't breathe. Just because if you lived in a city at the time, everyone was driving cars with leaded gasoline. And if you lived in a city, there was just that everywhere. And it just screwed up human beings across the board and made everyone look like they were 20 years older than they actually were, because their insides were dying and their outsides reflected such. It's just a terrible thing.
But you needed to have that leaded gasoline to make the chick scream, bro. So
what am I doing? Driving unleaded gasoline here? What? Oh, yeah.
So Rizzo is a total bitch, and then she sneaks out to have unprotected sex.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
because she's the bad girl.
Well, also it's the 1950s.
Yes.
So like condoms in the 1950s, I can't imagine were A, commonplace, and B, like even like could fit in a pocket. Like computers back then were the size of like a whole house. So a condom must have just been, the wrapping of it must have been just like trying to
like one of those signs that directs you into businesses.
like think about how we packaged like I don't know, like the way that like a can of soda way back then, you had to like use some kind of weird punch thing to like open. They didn't have pull tabs. Like it, just the idea of everyday items were so much harder to use. Like I could just imagine fumbling around with a condom in the backseat of a car would have required an engineering degree of some kind. So I just think that, listen, obviously don't have unprotected sex, kids, because guess what happens? But also in this time period, I think that it was probably way more common for that kind of thing to take place, because I just don't think that you could walk into like Wilson's Drug and be like, "Hello, my good man, a 3-pack of the ultra ribbed for her pleasure, please."
I do love that she has had one instance of unprotected sex and it leads to a pregnancy scare.
Well, that's
like
that's the way it works. That's the way they
that
said.
that is the way it works.
That in the time period, that was how sex education was. If you have sex one time, you will get pregnant. Yeah. That was what they told you, and you had to believe it because it was the time.
Meanwhile, in Mean Girls, decades later, he says you will get pregnant and die. So,
right.
Don't have sex.
Yes.
You'll get pregnant and die. But we kind of move along, and what I love here is that our sweet Danny has caught some feelings, Alex. Even in all of his cool guy car racing ways, he wants to impress Sandy and win her over once again. And she's dating a jock, and because men are defined by their hobbies,
right,
he decides the way to win her back is to also become a jock.
Yes.
So he gets rid of the leathers, Alex. All right. He puts on a leather sweater and kind of just bullies the high school coach into Coach Calhoun into letting him run with the track team.
Right.
So
and he immediately collapses and has to go to the hospital because of lung failure because of all the cigarettes that he smokes.
Yes.
Right. That's the other part. That's a deleted scene. But I really think they should have left it in. Yeah.
I think so too. I think it would have brought a sense of realism to it.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy him trying to pick up sports to impress chicks. That's a fun little archetype in there.
It is so like, oh, so she's dating a guy who does this. She must like guys who do this. If I do this, she will like me. Is a thing that has persisted literally in storytelling for 50 years and is never moved beyond that particular facile, dumb storytelling device.
Definitely not the character of the person. It's the things that they do. In their defense, I'll say two things. One, I think there's a lot of people, self-included, that watch this and were like, spoiler alert, there's a scene at the end where Sandy becomes like a bad girl and changes.
Right.
But we do also have the guy changing here. Like, he also tries to go the other way a little bit. So
he does.
I do appreciate
he does try, but it doesn't take. And by the end, he gets to be himself again.
But he still comes out in like his Letterman. I remember this because I'm like, this was sort of important. Of like, he comes out in his like varsity jacket stuff still. I think Olivia Newton-John just looked so smoking hot, nobody gave a crap. So, which is fair.
Literally smoking.
That's right.
Because that's what she does.
We'll get there because she's a bad girl. And they also don't really give a lot of personality to Tom outside of him being a drag. Like, he's been a pawn in the game, so Danny playing the game feels a little bit better because I don't think Sandy's actually all that into Tom. Like, it's not like he did these things and we like grew fond of Tom in the meantime, like that he was some guy that we had any sort of inclinations for.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he's just a cipher. Like, there's nothing about him either way that makes him good or bad. He's just he's an automaton that runs track. He's an automaton. He's an automaton that runs track, and that's all it is. There's nothing like. I guess I respect him for this, not making the very easy and very simple choice of, well, actually, Tom's bad for her. Tom orders her around. Tom doesn't respect her. At one point, we see Tom raise his hand to her, and he would have slapped her if Danny didn't grab his wrist, and then they have a rumble. Like they could have done all of that bullshit, and they didn't. It would have added conflict. Conflict sucks. Let's just make it. Listen, it is very easy, and it is. But sometimes it works because it adds conflict, and as you said, plot to the story. But we don't want that. We want something very simple and feel good with no bad feelings in it whatsoever. So
I would give them credit if I felt like they made a choice to not do that. I think they were too lazy and never even considered giving Tom a single character trait other than he runs track. So we see Danny trying on the sports. He's not very good at them. But he eventually convinces Sandy to go on a date with him. And it does not go well because Rizzo and Kaneki join and they have a huge fight and they break up. We also see Frenchy in what's the most important scene. The whole reason I really wanted to do this movie on this podcast. Frenchy, our sweet Frenchy, she's quirky. She's dropped out of school to go to beauty school.
Beauty School Dropout.
Oh, yeah. The most important musical number, maybe of all time. She turned her own hair pink. And I don't know what was in that hair dye, Alex, but I want some of it because an angel appears in a vision and tells her and kind of harasses her to go back to high school. And I just don't think angels should be chastising people so much and calling them failures as they appear in a dream. What the flick happened? That somebody sat down and wrote this.
I don't know. The thing about it is that it doesn't make a lot of sense is that Frenchy doesn't have like a large part in the movie, so that she gets like honestly it was like somebody wrote a song called Beauty School Dropout and really wanted to use it in this musical, so they invented this scene and this arc, this mini arc for Frenchy. Didi Khan, who plays Frenchy, is a delight, and she's a wonderful character actress. Only plays this version of a human being ever, but it's always fun to watch her. This doesn't make this belongs in a musical about Frenchy, about a girl who drops out of high school to go to beauty school. Like this is the big number that convinces her maybe that she should try going back to school. And actually, I would argue it's the second big number, because the actual big number should be at the end when she realizes she can follow her dreams and she will defy anybody, even the angel who came down to talk to her. And she goes to beauty school. And at the end, she opens her salon and everyone wants to come to Frenchy's salon. And that's a big, awesome thing. And everyone comes and everyone realizes Frenchy was right. That musical doesn't exist. If it did, maybe it'd be better than this one, because this musical stinks. And also, this has this in it, which doesn't belong in this musical whatsoever.
So weird.
It doesn't.
Like, she has a slightly bigger part than Marty and Jan. Jan is just there to get called fat. That's it.
Right,
the whole movie.
Right.
And to even out the numbers, because she goes on a date with someone on the other side. So that's even. Right. Marty is writing love letters to various men overseas and is gorgeous and doesn't really have a character beyond that. Frenchy is at least like a catalyst in the movie for like befriending Sandy. She's there to like counter Rizzo being a total bitch.
Right.
Because but it's like, why would anybody hang out with these people at all if it weren't for Frenchy?
None of the other dudes get their own musical number.
No,
they're just there to dance on a car. Like that's all they're there for.
Not her musical number. An angel appears for no reason.
Right. Yeah.
She hasn't done a drug. Like I just watched. It was like somebody needed a favor, man. I don't get beauty school dropout at all. It makes no sense. The angel advises her to go back to Rydell High. But I also feel like if you're in beauty school and you dyed your hair pink, that's not how failing in beauty school works either. Like, I don't think it just turns your hair an entirely different color.
Right.
But anyway, it's just so unbelievably random. An angel appears. He's kind of a dick and tells her to go back to high school. It's so far out of the way from the rest of it. But
I remember the name of the other guy. It's Sonny and Duty.
is it really Duty?
Duty.
My God.
Duty. Fantastic.
So then, again, like plot not emphasized here. We find out about the big school dance, Alex, and that it's going to be broadcast on national television. And it's going to be hosted by pedophile Vince Fontaine. He flirts with Marty, who we don't know. I don't think there's any implication that anyone's 18 or older. It seems like they're sneaking around trying to get alcohol and cigarettes. So that would kind of imply otherwise. Extremely icky at best. But Marty uses this flirtation as a way to get on television. And Kaneki and Rizzo are kind of trying to like outspite each other after their breakup. And Rizzo brings Leo and Kaneki brings Cha-Cha as their dates to this. And Danny and Sandy go to the dance together. And
I forgot that Cha-Cha's last name is Di Gregorio, which means she's not technically Latin. She's Mediterranean, which is just as bad in the 50s.
Of
like,
course.
You know, she's swarthy in some kind of way.
If you're not like this, you're either evil or the bad girl.
Right. So, like Rizzo. Rizzo is definitely
a brunette and therefore bad.
Therefore bad.
And this is where all the drama goes down. There's a hand jive that, of course, everybody knows. And they eliminate dancers as things go on just because this pedophile Vince Fontaine decides you're not good enough.
Yeah, you're not good enough.
And Danny and Sandy are killing it. They go out to dance together. They're crushing it. They're adorable. Everybody loves him. I think Olivia Newton-John was 30 in this movie, and she's the only one who looks like a high schooler, which is impressive because everybody else was younger and looks older. But I digress. They're selected for the final dance, but Sonny pulls Sandy off the dance floor, and Cha-Cha steps in and wins the dance contest with Danny. And Sandy is hurt, but open to believing that this wasn't Danny's fault because Sonny was the one that pulled him. And she agrees to go on a drive-in date, and Danny, to prove that he's serious about Sandy, gives her his ring, which she's very touched by, the respect, the commitment. But then he immediately goes to grope her. and
I mean, really, he gave her his ring. That's a contract. That is a contract.
That's a contract.
That is legal and binding. It's basically notarized.
He didn't even get any land out of it, so she should be. This is a bargain.
No. I give you my ring. You give me either two goats and a mule, or your boobs. Like there's two things. I do not see any livestock, so therefore honka honka. Like there you go. That's all you get.
That's pretty much it. That's society.
And has been for thousands of years.
There it is.
Nothing wrong with that. Let's all think back to the good old days, either the 1950s or 1950 BC. It's the same thing, basically.
Just looks cuter.
Yeah.
So she swats him away, and then we find out that John Travolta can't really sing in the musical number. Oh, Sandy. He thinks she's so complicated, but really, she just doesn't want to be groped immediately after. He's like, "Oh, Sandy, why?"
Girls, what do they want? To not be groped. I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
Publicly at a drive-in. So she throws the ring back at him. We get this overarching musical number.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rizzo tells Marty in confidence that she is nervous that she is pregnant from her one night of unprotected sex with Kaneki, and kind of explains the argument that they got into earlier a little bit. But darn it, Alex, not even 10 minutes later has this news traveled across the entire drive-in in a montage of getting passed on from car to car. Marty tells Jan, who tells Sonny, and the rumor full swing by the time Rizzo leaves the drive-in. Kaneki eventually finds out, but is snubbed by a lying Rizzo, who says that if she is pregnant, he's not the father, so it's not on him to worry about. And for reasons, we move along to Grease Lightning being restored and ready to go for the race against the Scorpions.
Is this where Rizzo has her musical number, or is that later?
Oh, you're right. This is there are worse things I could do
than the
go with the boy.
Yeah.
This actually attempted to have emotional appeal, which was nice.
Yeah.
This was saying like, hey, being a judgmental prick is worse than sleeping with people, which is something that I agree with overall.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's it. She was 34.
Going on 47.
34. So yeah, no. Once you start getting toward 35, there's a lot of complications to worry about with a pregnancy, is what I've been told, and so she was right to be worried, not about what are my parents going to say, because they were likely dead at this point, because she was 34 years old. And to be honest, looked 44. Like
she looked younger. What, 2 decades later in The West Wing?
Yeah.
That she did, which she was great in.
She was smoking hot in The West Wing. Because she was all stately. But this was just like her, like it was like, I don't know. It looked like she was a teacher dressing up like a student. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. The cropped hair. Like it, she looks older than she is, and is supposed to be playing like 15 years younger than she is.
Yes.
Does not work at all. But you're right. There's complications, 35 and older, and
sure.
You know what? At that point too, she probably had a full-fledged career. So what does she need to be hanging around?
It was also an oops baby. I mean, she already had 3 kids by this point with her ex-husband.
Yeah. Of course.
So she's like,
she's got a whole house. It's paid off.
I have a career. I don't have time for this.
I don't need this guy who's affably working on a car, and that's his whole life.
I can't have a baby with this guy.
Come on.
No, come on. That's not possible.
So understandable that her midlife crisis child doesn't. She lies to him about the fatherhood, but. Yes, and the only musical number that has any attempt at having substance to it, I would say, right? Like, I think that's fair.
Right.
A nice, refreshing change from what we saw minutes earlier of why doesn't Sandy love me? All I wanted to do was touch her boobs. But it's race time, buddy. It's race time between Grease Lightning and the Scorpions car. After they backed in to the car, that's enough to set this up. Yep. Jan gives Kaneki a lucky penny, and he is promptly knocked out cold by the opening of a car door, which is something you should probably be a little aware of on race day. Immediately, he's concussed and cannot drive, so Danny has to take his place.
Wait, what happens to him when he gets concussed?
He gets hit with the car door?
Yeah, they could have come up with something better than that, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like whoopsie daisy. Klutzy me. No.
The car door on race day is something you were unprepared for. There's so many other ways you could have just had Danny.
Again, conflict. Like, have some of the Scorpions jump Kaneki, hit him in the back of the head with a lead pipe.
That's two stables right there.
That's the that's for the car. That's for screwing up my car or whatever. And he's not able to drive because he can't see straight or whatever. I'm seeing double, 4 Dannies, like whatever it is. Like there's a really great joke in there, but also that would require you picking a side and not just doing something like the whole movie is like, oops. Like the whole movie's just oops. Like, oops, her family decided to stay in America. Oops, she happens to be going to the same she happens to be going to the same school as he does. Oops, I might have gotten pregnant. Oops, I won the dance contest. I wasn't even supposed to be in the dance contest. Everything is just oops, except for boobs. It's oops, boobs. There's 2 things.
Oops and boobs. And honestly, if you take oops and you flip it upside down and add a letter,
it's basic right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. So like the whole thing is you could pick a side. You could actually tell a story with some bite to it, but they never choose to do it at all. It's just feel good bullshit. Like it's the whole thing's a friggin' a placebo for real life. It's just awful.
And it doesn't make me feel any better, weirdly.
No, it doesn't.
So Danny takes his place. And he outraces Leo, whose car is spinning on its own axis at that point. We see damage inflicted to Grease Lightning because there's like kill cells on the side of this car. Like Grease Lightning didn't have any weaponry that was brought about it, but okay. And we see Frenchy finding Sandy sitting on a wall of tar pits watching the race. And she realizes that she still loves Danny, even though he tried to grope her after giving him his commitment ring. And she wants Frenchy's help in winning him back. Before we go into what's next, which involves another musical number and a car that flies away. 2 musical numbers, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she could have just been like, I don't feel like she needed to transform because he actually liked who she was. Boobs and all. Like, I feel like she could have just been like, let's give this another shot. And Danny would have been like, hey, that sounds good. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because of the machismo, his pride would have been too torn apart. But I just also feel like that wasn't like that big of a conflict that you have to go change your whole identity.
No.
Which she does. Because it's graduation day. And as every graduation day happens, there's a fair.
Right.
You know how you graduate and there's a fair?
They bring a they didn't bring a whole carnival with rides and a midway full of games. Step right up, throw a dart at the balloon, and win a prize. They didn't bring that to your high school when you graduated?
No.
Man, it must be a West Coast thing. Must be a West Coast thing. Because they do that every it happens all the time.
I was like, if you had said it was like prom season or whatever or something to that effect. No, graduation day, and there's a fair.
So wait a minute. Now did I in all the times I've watched this, have I not actually ever processed this before? It starts at the beginning of the school year. Summer Lovin' had me a blast. And that just ended. And so now they're starting a new school year. And it ends at the end of the school year. 9 months have passed in this. This doesn't feel like 9 months of shit has happened. Like, was there a giant time jump that I missed? Where was the winter formal? What, like when did because also like, did they do in the 50s? Did they do track and field in the fall? I thought it was always a spring sport. So we just jump from the beginning of the school year. Now it's March. And we just skipped all that shit. Oh and God, maybe somehow it's a big school. Maybe Danny, Zuko, and Sandy never actually met until like late February because they just never came in contact with each other.
Winter break had me a blast.
Like honestly, I'd never. Is it truly graduation day on the last episode on the last scene?
It is. Because they have that whole thing with the principal and the bell ring, and Danny talks about summer school for gym and everything. Oh my god!
But how did this take place over 9 months?
Alex, it doesn't
you
feel
tell
like
me
it took
how
place over a week.
It's like I was gonna say 9 weeks, but certainly not. Certainly not 9
my
weeks.
God,
9 days. Like I don't know how we're fast forwarding through all of that to get to the end of the school year. This is a terrible, terrible movie.
This is so
based
bad.
on a terrible, terrible stage play musical. Why do people like this?
I don't know. Every musical number is a month. That's what I've determined.
It feels like a month.
It feels like
a month watching it.
Alex, we don't even have seasons because they're like at the drive-in and it's a little chilly.
Well,
we just don't
like they're in Los Angeles. I'll forgive them.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They are in LA.
That it's like, I'll forgive them.
But the weather doesn't
but
keep it.
At the same time,
it's just the end of the year.
Are you fucking kidding me? 9 months. Like if Rizzo had gotten pregnant at the beginning of the musical and decided to keep the baby, she would have been giving birth to it by the end of the movie.
And she has the big reveal that she's not pregnant at this point.
Right. So how long was she supposed to be keeping this a secret?
Yeah, I mean, she didn't gain any weight.
So was she? Wait, so she was never pregnant?
No.
So she was never. She thought she might have been, but she wasn't pregnant. So she's like, oh God, I think I might be pregnant. And I don't know. She finds out within, let's say, a month or two that she's not. And then she's like, oh, thank God I'm not. Better hold on to this little secret for another 6 months. But what does Kaneki think?
Well, that's Kaneki's the thing. Because she said it's not the dad. And then when she reveals that they're not pregnant, she gets back together with Kaneki. Because everybody has to be together in the end.
Right. Because they got to.
Oh my God.
No, the 9 month thing is just really throwing me off here. Like that's the worst thing about the movie somehow.
It's It is 100% graduation day.
If you told me somehow it was like the first semester, like you're pushing it, but I might allow it. But if you're saying this thing happened from September to like late May, I'm done. I'm sorry, that's not allowed. We're not doing this anymore. It's over. You're get the flick out of here. Get the
flick way out of here.
This is like one of those things. Like if I liked the movie, like didn't love it, but like was like this is all right. And then I came to the realization this movie was supposed to have taken place over 9 months.
Gone.
Get the flick out. Like that is enough of a colossal error. That I would just like that on its own is enough to disqualify the film by itself.
Yeah, because also like Danny earned his Letterman jacket, which means that he did well enough on the track team to earn his Letterman jacket. So it's the end of
does he ever actually run or do whatever on the team? Does he ever actually we
did not see him do that over the course of 9 months other than trying to impress Sandy, I think.
But like he doesn't actually like win the big race.
No.
It turns out Danny Zuko actually is really good at pole vaulting. None of that actually happens. Like he's a natural. My God, he might even make the Olympic squad. No, none of that happens.
He is clearing hurdles at a record pace.
Here is the deal. Again, make a choice. Make this fucking thing about something.
Make any choices.
Danny Zuko, who has she just said, "Oh, she likes this guy who runs track. I'm going to run track too, but I'm actually not that fast." So, somebody like sees him like I don't know jumping on top of something or whatever, and like, "Hey, you ever tried the high jump, kid?" And it's like, "No." It's like, "Let me show you." And all of a sudden, like Danny Zuko is a prodigy, like he was put on this earth to do the high jump, and he sets state records, and like. A guy who thought he had no future might actually make the Olympic team in the 1960 Olympics or whenever the hell it is as the high jumper. Like it's actually something that like never would have. They oops themselves into an actual happy ending instead of a bullshit one where they fly away in a car. You know what I mean? Like, find a way to actually make it something, but they decided to make it nothing.
Oh my God. I also am living for like it being taken way too seriously and Sandy like looking in his eyes and pumping him up right before he goes pole vaulting. So he earns his Letterman jacket. Allegedly, he's had a track career. And he does it to impress Sandy. And this is where I felt like it was important to point out that it is even, because I think the takeaway is the message is change who you are for a man. But he does it too. But she, of course, comes out in like the most iconic look of the whole movie, I think, of her in the black leather, smoking a cigarette, teased hair. She's an absolutely stunning woman.
I cannot be sure of this, but I'm almost positive. They gave her smoker's lines on her face.
Did they really?
If you watch the moment where she goes, "Tell me about it, stud," they darkened the nasal labial folds along of the bottom of her nose so she looked like she was a longtime smoker. They made her look older. Like, look at the first scene of her where she's just at school, and then the last scene, somehow they've done something with her makeup that trying to make her look older. Like, she's already too old to play high school. You don't have to make her look older. So it's a weird thing. I don't know what they did, but like the way she's like, "Tell me about it, stud." She's got these crazy lines and everything's all darkened. They darkened up her face in a weird way that makes it look like she's older than she actually is. So
that's weird. Freaking wild.
And then they give her the weird bouffanty, puffy hair.
Closer to God.
And you're right. Danny Zuko does come out in that scene in his Letterman's jacket, which he immediately ditches so he can wear all black just like her.
Of course.
And so the last image,
right?
And the last image that we have of them together is her having fully changed and him basically being himself just without the leather jacket.
Yes, that's very fair.
He was like, "Hey, here's what I think. I joined the track and field, got into fantastic shape, earned myself a Letterman's jacket, and I did this all for you. What did you do for me?" "Well, I started a horrible habit. I smoke now 3 packs a day. I've aged terribly. I got all this terrible chemicals in my hair. I've squeezed myself into these leather pants, all for you. I love you so much. My parents have disowned me. I live on the street now." Like, this is like, I mean, you really can't compare what he did for her to what she did for him.
Well, and like the insinuation I feel like with this too is like she is sexy, so now she will probably let him touch her boobs.
Right. Oh yeah. No, this version of Sandy absolutely at least allows over the clothes.
Yes, at least over the clothes stuff.
Yeah, at least.
But they're the ones that they want, so we get that musical number.
I've got chills. They're multiplying, I'm losing control. It's the power. You're supplying. It's electrifying.
Electrifying. I was thinking of The Rock the whole time.
Yeah.
Watching this back. Yeah, and again, I can't emphasize enough. On graduation day, you sing musical songs like through a fun house,
right,
and stuff.
Right. No, through the carnival that is at your graduation.
Of course. And it is on school grounds. This isn't like a party at someone's house.
No. Yep.
And then we also get a musical number for literally no reason of "We Go Together," which doesn't even really have a transition into it. Like, it's just kind of like, "We graduated, hooray! We go together," like
ding bong. Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Those things don't go together. Like, we go together like toast
peanut butter
and jam.
And jelly. Yeah.
Whatever. Like, we go together like things that go together. Things that go together. Yeah. Like, you could have read that, but you wrote "shibba dibba digga digga biggity ding dee bong," which doesn't go together. Those are sounds that you've put together in a kind of patois that don't actually mean anything. So it's, again, this is a beloved song that means nothing as effectively in a film that is beloved but means nothing.
Nothing.
It's a perfect song to end this movie on. Wonderful. No notes.
No notes at all. That's perfect. And that's it. We see them get in Grease Lightning, which, and I cannot stress this enough, flies into the sky.
Flies into the sky. Because this is a thing. Here's the thing. I think maybe I've been thinking about this movie all wrong. You know, I was saying like maybe it's a parallel universe where people can just break out into song and they all telepathically communicate all the lyrics at the same time, do the same thing. There's music that just happens. They all know the same dance moves. In this parallel universe, we have flying cars. Now, they're only flying cars if you've actually souped them up in your garage at the school.
And I think they have to have won races to be able to gain.
Yes, you have to win a race. You have to get enough XP so you can unlock the flying capability in your car that you have. Maybe it's that. Maybe the whole thing takes place in an alternate universe, because it would have to take place in an alternate universe where good movies are actually bad and bad movies are actually good.
That's true. That would explain the timeline as well if it was in an alternate.
Yes, yeah. Right. Yeah. No, there was a weird time where I don't know why, but in this alternate the timeline, everyone has to be cryo-frozen for 6 months every year just to continue to live. And so they were all cryo-frozen, but we skipped that part. That would be really boring. So they all go into cryo-freeze, and 6 months later they come out and they do the rest of the movie. No? That's not a thing that happened? Okay, then get the flick out of here.
Let's get the flick out of here.
I was holding judgment until you told me whether or not my crazy scenario was actually true about the film. And if it wasn't, I have to not regrettably, get the flick out of here. God, it's such a terrible
If your scenario is true, I'll keep it.
Great.
I'll keep it. I hate to do this months after Olivia Newton-John's death, but this movie was so bad. And it's terrible.
Listen,
and the flick out of here.
She's one of the least objectionable things about it.
Oh, by far, yeah.
You know, it's just, it's
her and Frenchy. It's so bad, Alex. This movie is high schools do this on purpose.
Right. I think a lot of it is because it's set in high school. It's a lot of fun for like the parents of the pink ladies to get a pattern and make a poodle skirt. You know what I mean? Like, it's a bunch of BS. Everybody gets to do it because everyone's the right age. Maybe you get one of the teachers to like play a teacher in the background and was like, "Oh, look at
principal.
That's hilarious!" Like whatever. It's a terrible thing. People should stop doing it. It is one of those deals where they could have made the play about something, could have actually put conflict in it, could have changed. Anybody could have changed except for superficially. Like the only one who changes is Sandy, and only because like she wants to like be the kind of girl who lets him grope her now, because she was too innocent before, so she has to not be innocent to allow it, because let's be honest, he's going to get what he wants anyway. So it's okay now because she wears leather pants. Like it's a lot of just weird things. It's a bunch of bullshit comfort food for people who watch the movie. And it's
like Rizzo thinks she's pregnant and doesn't change.
Right. And crucially, there's no consequences for anything.
Yes.
Like nobody who makes a bad decision ever gets punished for it. No. Nothing is really rewarded. It's just the end, and they're flying off. They're flying off into what? Where are they going? What? Like, where are the characters? Where do they wind up? They're class of 58. Like, where do they have? I mean, I'm assuming Frenchy is going to actually now go into beauty school now that she's graduated. So at least Frenchy might be the only one who, by the mid 60s, is in a good position. Because so let's say Sandy marries Danny. What does he have a job waiting for him at the foundry? Where's he gonna what's he gonna do? Like, I don't think he's a good student. Maybe Kaneki again, like, is like a grease monkey, working at some like low-level mechanic shop, something like that. Sonny tragically died in Vietnam. Like, there's really nothing you can say about this. Is the other thing about it is so funny is that all these people who graduated in 1958, like, it's very, very good chances by the end of the 60s they were strung out on dope, dead in a war halfway across the world in some jungle. Like, there was a bad generation, like, to actually get through this.
My God, that's true. And they had the nerve to make a Grease 2, which I've never watched.
I mean, honestly, what could it possibly be about?
I don't know. Alex's movie was so bad.
I hear Frenchy's in it. I hear Frenchy's in Grease 2. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, she dropped back out again and went back to school because she never completed. She's getting her GED. GED dropout. I don't know what any of that shit is. This movie is so bad, and again, I think that we are on the right side of things, no matter what the YouTube comments tell us. We are correct.
We are. It's terrible. I will say, watching it was the only emotional value I got out of this was I was laughing at it at several points, like at it.
Yes,
it's so bad. Mostly at the casting. I just can't get over how old these people are and look.
Well, like Kaneki, Jeff Conaway, like right after this thing, he used the fame from this to become a regular on Taxi, which started.
That's like, what he looks like, yeah.
And nothing changed about him. He had the same hair. He wore the same damn jacket. He was just Kaneki, but now, which is great because Kaneki graduated from high school in 1958, and I'm pretty sure Jeff Conaway did too. Like, it's a crazy thing that by the time he's goes from playing 17 in 1978 to playing 35 in 1979, and nobody bats an eye.
And to your point, with not a single change upon him.
No. He was good in Taxi, though.
Yeah, Taxi was great.
Taxi was a great. You know why? Also, they didn't try and tell us that Judd Hirsch was playing 18 years old. So that's a really good thing that they did, and we're appreciating that at all. So yeah, I don't know.
I was getting the flick out of here anyway, but I now cannot wrap my head around the fact that this was an entire school year and that there was a fake pregnancy arc that seemingly nobody questioned.
Right. Like, they would have had to, like, they would have had to just, like, completely excise 6 months out of the year. I don't know where it would have come from, but it wasn't like they were like every scene happens a month later than the last scene. That's not what they're doing. Everything's right back to back to back to back. It's awful.
Well, and to your point, there would have been school events that happened along the way.
Right. Yeah. Major markages of time.
Midterm, other dances.
Yeah. Also, like, nobody fucking goes to actual school. Nobody cares about school. School's not even
right. Yeah.
There's no danger of like, oh man, I stayed up all night doing my history project or whatever. Nobody cares about that. I'm wondering how many of them actually graduated. I never saw any of them go to class.
Not great.
Maybe that's what Grease 2 is about. Summer school.
Grease 2, academia.
They fly the car back into the parking lot in the first scene, and they start going to summer school because they skipped all their classes.
I think that's good. I think that's a good message to send.
It is. Stay in school. I don't know what it says. Yeah, so get the flick out of here as far away as possible. So now I think at some point, I know we got to do an episode of The Floor is Lava starring people from AEW, but I don't think that shows up on Netflix until the 30th of this month. And then next month is going to be all Halloween spookiness all the time, featuring a lot of funny spooky, and also some scary spooky that I'll be watching by myself and trying not to scare you when I talk about it. Because you're not allowed to watch scary movies.
No,
your mommy and daddy say you're not allowed to watch scary movies because then you'll have bad dreams. Yes. So
I'm
there's
mom
that.
and dad.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, there's some fun stuff we have on the horizon for Schlocktober. That's what I'm calling it. For literally, it's going to be our Schlocktober event, and it'll be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. But until then, Kate, where can the people find you that's not here?
At Miss Kate Fabe on Twitter, at the Mark Order Podcast every Wednesday night, and on Fightful YouTube every Tuesday with this fella, and Fridays doing AEW Rampage and SmackDown review as well.
Yep, you can follow me on the Twitter at Alex Sourgraps. Also, here on YouTube, go to Alex Sourgraps, where I do watch-alongs for Main Event of Dynamite. Good one this week, which happened yesterday, which is weird that we're taping this early, so I shouldn't say it. I don't know, maybe it's a bad one. Maybe it was a terrible one. I guess you'll have to have tuned in to find out. And then Friday, Rampage. Usually I do the full thing of Rampage where I watch along, but this week it's 2 hours, and I might need a pee break in there somewhere. So I don't know if I'm going to do the full 2 hours. But yeah, we like to stream that, and I also been streaming The Last of Us, the whole series The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. Over
Which
there,
I joined until it got scary because I'm
until it got scary. Yes, there's some things like, in there you would not like. Bye, which is nice. But yeah, please go over there and follow, like, subscribe, all those things. Until the next time when we find, hopefully, we'll think of some other beloved favorite from 40 years ago to eviscerate on. Get the flick out of here. Bye, everybody.
RESPECT. Click the subscribe button and find out what it means to me. Nah, that doesn't have a ring to it. But if you like videos about real news stories that are funny, stupid, or weird, subscribe now.